Hello YouTube, it is Sebelmon here with my second video in the tutorial series, or tutorial/gameplay series, entirely dedicated to Endless Legend. So now in this video, I'm going to teach you all how to settle your first city and the very, very early basic steps and stages of an Endless Legend game. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right in and start showing you guys the early steps of an Endless Legend game. So, as you probably remember from last time, I'm just select a unit, you just click on it, and it brings you up that little menu right there that shows you the basic information about a unit, all that fun stuff. So I want to actually settle my first city, okay? Because cities are core to learning how to play Endless Legend and are core to building up your empire, which is something that you do in Endless Legend, and that's how you succeed in the game. Basically, the goal of the game is to have the strongest empire and to have the best empire by the end of the game. And the end of the game can be brought on by several different events, but that's really not important right now. All you need to know is that the goal of the game is to expand your empire and compete with all the other empires out there. So, because the Wildwalkers get a bonus to their industry once they settle in forests, I see a little forest over here, so I'm going to go settle in that. I'm going to explain industry and all the other stuff like food and science and all that fun stuff in just a quick moment, because it'll be a lot easier to explain once I actually have a city up and running. So I'm just going to move my guy over here. To move a unit, you just click on it, and then right click to where you want it to move. If you see that little 1, that means it's only going to take, one turn for you to move there. So since this is one turn right now, I just right click and it moves my person over there. It's very simple. Now this little thing just popped up, the new minor faction. What a minor faction is, as I mentioned earlier, you have factions, but a minor faction is basically just these little AI-controlled cities that live in a region, that basically just live in a region near to you. Or minor factions, to kind of explain them simply, they are minor factions that don't have any diplomacy, that are just there to fight you and your city and your faction, and the only thing you can really do with them is fight them and take over them, okay? It's basically all there is to it. And once you take them over, you get a few bonuses, but again, it's all you need to know is that you fight them and you can take them over. So I'm just going to click Dismiss here, and I'm going to settle my city, okay? Because Wildwalkers do get a bonus to their cities once they settle in forests. So I'm going to go to the Actions menu, click Settle City, and then I'm going to click on the tile which I want to settle my city. This tile strategically looks quite nice because on the left it's blocked off by the mountains, on the right it's blocked off by a lake, so that in the case of warfare that would protect me and be quite beneficial. So I'm going to left click to settle my city, and here I have it. Here's my first city. So in this tutorial, or in this video, I'm going to go over a quick rundown of the basic city interface and what all these things do. Top over here is just your very basic city information, your city name, the minor faction that is in the same region that your city is in. If I hadn't mentioned it earlier, you only can settle one city per region. Regions basically are just subsections of the map. You only can settle one city in them. For every region, you have a minor faction, as I mentioned earlier. Minor factions, you fight, all that fun stuff. There's only one minor faction per region. You only can have one city per region. Okay. So just when you settle in a region, be wary that there is going to be a minor faction that's you're going to have to fight and eventually take over. That's just going to be something that's part of the game, and that's something you're going to have to deal with. No trade routes is a feature that's currently work in progress and is not implemented in the alpha at this time, so you don't have to worry about that. Over here, again, shows some more basic city information. How happy your city is. Happiness is paramount to making sure that your city is good, and to make sure that basically what it does is the more happier people are, or the more they approve of you, the more benefits you're gonna get. Okay, so if they approve of you a lot, if you have a high approval rate, if that's like at 100% or 90 or something, your city is gonna have a higher output of these things right here, which I'll explain in just a second. You want to keep your happiness or your approval as much as possible, and you can do that by building certain buildings, completing certain quests, and just doing certain tasks to ultimately improve your approval rating, something that you need to do. Down here shows your population. Population basically just gives you more workers. The more workers you have, the higher amount of production you get from these little sections over here. Again, all that will be explained in just a second. This shows the upkeep of your city. You can look over here to see your current treasury, how much dust. Again, dust is the currency of the game. Basically, it's the exact same to any other game as like gold or the dollar or the euro or something. It's just the very simple currency, but for some reason it's called Dust in Endless Legend, and it's, all you need to know is that that's the currency, and you can buy stuff with it. Okay, that's very simple. This shows the dust upkeep, or this shows how much dust the city costs per turn. So in this case, it costs 10 dust per turn, so that's going to be subtracted from my overall rating right here, as you can see. Plus 13 from city, plus 1 from hero upkeep, and plus 5 from military upkeep, and yeah, all that fun stuff. And then that is the city improvements that you have built, cost your empire an upkeep of 10, minus 10 for each turn. So basically, you're just losing every city you settle, you're going to lose some gold per turn, so just keep that in mind, okay? So yeah, that's basically how it works, and you can also manage your upkeep by clicking browse right here, and it shows you the stuff that you have, and that shows you how much that's costing you. So that's that. Over here, this is probably the most important little section of the game, is your FIDSI section. Now you may be saying, what is FIDSI? What does FIDSI stand for? Well, FIDSI stands for Food, Industry, Dust, Science, and Influence. Now each one of those is very crucial to how you play the game and very crucial to doing well in the game. Food basically allows your city to grow faster, and every time your city gains up, or basically allows your population to increase faster. So right now, since I just started, I only have 1 population. Because of that, I only get 1 worker. What workers do is they basically give a bonus to each of the sections they're assigned to. So if I assign a worker to the food section of the FIDSI box, I get a bonus to the amount of food I get per turn. However, if I move them to the industry section, I get a bonus to the industry. As you can see, that decreased and that went up. It's very simple on how that works, and you get more workers by increasing your population, and the more food you have, the more your population increases. Industry, on the other hand, basically allows you to build buildings and allows you to build buildings faster. So you can look down here to see all the different buildings that are currently available. I've got like seed storage, sewer system, founders market. Each one of those buildings gives you a unique benefit, but they all are rely to build them all. You must have a decent amount of production. Okay. So let's say I want to build a Founders Memorial. Okay, Founders Memorial gives me a +2 on basically all the FIDSI stuff. So if I click on that, it's going to put me into my construction queue, and if you click on it and look at the bottom, it says cost 60 industry, okay? And since I'm getting 10 industry per turn, and it costs 60 industry, it's only going to take me 6 turns to build, because 60 divided by 10 is going to get you 6. Very simple on how industry works, and very simple on the fact that the more industry you get per turn, the faster you're going to be able to build stuff. Science allows you to research things faster. When you research I should call them techs. When you research a tech, you basically get a benefit from researching that tech. Some techs give you an increased FIDSI count, other techs give you access to more buildings, other techs gives you access to more units. Basically, you should research tech, and you should always be researching tech throughout the game, and the more science you have, the faster you're going to research tech. Works the same thing with production, works the same thing with industry. I have 6 science per turn, so let's say a technology costs 60 science. It's only going to take 6 turns to make. But oftentimes science takes a lot longer, tech takes a lot longer to research than it does for a building to be built. Over here, you see dust, which basically is very self-explanatory. It gives me 13 dust per turn, and you can look over here to see +3 from city, +13 from city, and right here it gives me 13 dust per turn. Very simple. The more money you get per turn, the more money you're going to have over time. You can buy stuff with money. Basically, you just buy stuff with money. You can improve buildings. You can build buildings faster with money. It's basically all that money does. And in this game, as I mentioned, it's called Dust, so I'll just refer to it as Dust from now on. Over here, you have Influence. Influence is basically diplomatic currency. If you ever want to have any diplomatic actions, or if you ever want to do anything when it comes to diplomacy with another faction, not minor factions, but the major factions, the 6 main empires in the game, if you ever want to do anything with them, you're going to have to spend some influence. And influence, as I mentioned, is just basically a diplomacy currency. If you want to do anything with diplomacy, you got to spend some influence. You basically just get influenced by building certain buildings and all that stuff. Again, if you really want to increase all of these, you can see how much you just build buildings. A lot of buildings give you different benefits, okay? And when you build a certain building, it's gonna benefit one of these 50 categories. So let's look at a sewer system over here. I want to build a sewer system because A, it gives me, if you look at the effects down at the bottom, it gives me 25 approval, so that's going to boost up my approval rating. And as I mentioned, a higher approval rating is going to help your fizzy productions increase. It gives me +1 influence on approval, so that means when people start to like me, I'm going to get an increased influence. But it costs 1 from city upkeep, so basically it's going to make my city have to take more out of my treasury in order to function, so my city upkeep is going to be increased, but it's ultimately going to benefit me all around by increasing my happiness, or by increasing my approval, and by increasing my influence. So this is definitely something I'd suggest building, because it gives you good happiness, or gives you high approval rating overall, and high early on, which ultimately increases your fizzy production. I'm also going to queue up the Founders Memorial, which gives me quite a large amount of bonuses. It gives me 2 food, 2 industry, 2 dust, 2 science, and 1 influence. So that overall is pretty nice. I'm just going to queue these things up so I don't forget to do them later. And then seed storage gives you +10 food. That is a lot of food per turn. That is something that is really good early on, so you can start rapidly expanding your empire. And also gives me 20% increase of food, so that overall seed storage is something that really benefits you if you want to rapidly expand your empire, or if you want to start expanding your empire early on. So with all those things done, with all those things assigned, with all my buildings queued, that's basically all you really need to know about the city screen for now, is that this is how you manage your workers, this is your current fizzy output, this is the buildings. You can also build units in the city if I hadn't mentioned that. These are the units / buildings you're building. Yeah. So the last 2 sections here are going to be, I'm going to explain later on, but right now all you need to know is that when you have a army in a city, he will show up in the garrison section. So if you choose to garrison him in your city, the units inside of it will show up here. So if you can manage them that way. Hero-wise, if I hadn't mentioned this earlier, every army, or the army that you start out with, has a hero, and you can assign heroes to armies, which basically just gives them benefits. So the game automatically assigned Tlatzlo Mosi Paka II to this army when I started the game. So now this army has several benefits to it. It has increased health and all that fun stuff. It has basically all the benefits of this hero are now added to this army, okay? Because heroes oftentimes have much higher stats than the basic units of the basic soldiers that you can just build in the cities. Heroes, you have to buy them through the marketplace, which I'll explain later on. But heroes just are basically beefed up fighting units. That's all they are. They're just very powerful soldiers. You can assign a hero to an army to ultimately make that army better, but you can also, this is the cool part of this game, you can also assign a hero to a city. And once you do that, your city gains some benefits like increased fizzy production. So if you if you assign your hero to your city, if you assign your hero to governor your city, you're going to get some benefits, okay? So I want to hit assign hero right here, and then I click on the only hero I have right now that the game started me with, the Tlatomosi Pwaka. I click on him, click select, and now I have set that guy to govern my city. So that's going to give me an increased, a few increased fizzy productions right here. And ultimately, I personally like putting heroes to my cities because that gives me some benefits. I know some people would rather have them in your armies because it boosts up your armies, but that's basically what you can do with a hero. You can either assign him to an army or have him govern your city, both of which give you some nice benefits. Now you see that my army has much less health and is not as good as it was because I don't have a hero anymore, but really that doesn't really matter right now because I'm not going to be encountering that many other players or that many minor factions because I only have my one city, so that's not really that important. So that's the basic rundown of the first step of the game, the first settling your city. This is a basic rundown of the city screen and all the stuff that you can do with it. Now, this may seem a little bit boring, and learning something at first, and learning something like Endless Legend is going to be a tiny bit boring at first, But once you finish these first few videos and you actually start playing the game for your own, it's going to be much, much more fun, and you're going to have a great time, I promise you. Next video, I'm going to be getting into a little bit more on what you can do with units, what you can do with your cities, and I'm going to actually start continuing off the game, ending my turns, and starting to explore, starting to build other cities, all that fun stuff. I'm going to start actually continuing the game and playing it the way it needs to be. I'm also going to go through these tabs in a little bit more detail when they actually come up. Next video, I'll probably be talking about the Empire screen some more, the city screen, and the research screen, all those different things. But really, once you just take a quick look at them, they're really quite self-explanatory of what they do. For example, the city screen just gives you information on your empire screen just gives you information on your empire. It's pretty simple. So again, that is upcoming in the next videos. Again, I thank you all for watching. This really makes my day every time I get a view on my channel. It's really helpful. Please remember to comment, like, subscribe. If you have any issues with the video or any feedback, positive or negative, feel free to put them down in the comments. Again, thanks for watching. Thank you.